Well, by the grace of Yahuwah, we're back again. Praise, esteem, and honor to the Most High Yah, name of Yahushua HaMashiach this day. So this John 5:39. So search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me. And you do not come to me that you might have life, and I receive my honor from men. But I know you, that you have not the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Abba's name, and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one of another, and seek not the honor that comes from Elohim? Do not think that I will accuse you. The Allah, there's one that accused you, even Moses, in whom you trust. If I had you believe Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how shall you believe my words? What is it? Proverbs, what, 11 and 16 is what it is? What we starting at? Yeah, that's what it is. It says in Proverbs 6:11 and 16, a gracious woman retaineth honor, and a strong man retains riches. Now, we will deal with the second half of that verse today, most high willing, but we'll continue on looking at what we've been looking at. So we need to go back to Ruth chapter 3, because I don't believe that we completed that. If you recall in Ruth chapter 3, Boaz made mention that everyone in the city knew that Ruth was a virtuous woman. Why is that important? Because wherever you dwell, there should be a good report of what type of person you are. And again, that again goes back to not what you say to you. See, let me show you why I say that. Proverbs 27. And we've dealt with this Proverbs 27 before. So you have to watch out for stuff like this here, because see, this is contrary to the word. Proverbs 27, I want to say, it ain't verse 2 though. It might be verse 2. It is verse 2. Proverbs 27 and 2. But we'll read 27 and 1 just on general principle. It says, boast not yourself of tomorrow, for you know not what a day may bring forth. Let another man praise you, and not your own mouth, a stranger, and not your own lips. See, that's why I was going back to tell him about, like, okay, somebody said, well, I'm a good woman, I'm a good man. Well, you just bear witness. So let me show you another instance. What it is, John chapter 8. You know, thinking about that boast not yourself of tomorrow made me say, here's something, think of something that I heard a brother say yesterday, and a thought process that I've always had. That brother was like, you brothers trying to, get ready for the end and save up water and save up food. And he said, I first got in the word, my homeboy was looking at it, and the dude was like, don't think that Yah look out for you like he looked out for Elijah. And the thought process is why would you think Yah would stop doing that? Because dudes don't really believe. Or what it boils down to. People don't really believe and trust in Yahuwah. And that's why they say that. But see, I always knew that. It don't matter how much food you save up, how much water you save up. Yahuwah is a provider. That's what he said. If he said he showed mercy to thousands of them that keep his covenant and his commandments, then what makes you think he wouldn't do that in a time of adversity? The only reason why you would think that is because you don't believe that he would do that. That's the only way I can see it. Because I'm not saying not to be prepared, but shoot, a lot of niggas going to be in for a rude awakening, because they're going to do a lot of preparation, and then Yahuwah not going to allow them to get to it, just to see if you'll rely and trust in him. Now let that sink in your mind. John chapter 8 and verse 12. He said, then spake Yahushua again unto them, saying, I'm the light of the world. He that follow me shall not walk in darkness, but have the light of life. The Pharisees therefore said unto him, you bear record of yourself. Your record is not true. See, that goes back to you boasting in yourself. Ain't nobody else said this about you. But Yahushua said, somebody did say this about me. Yahushua answered and said unto them, though I bear record of myself, yet my record is true, for I know whence I came and where I go. But you cannot tell whence I come and where I go. You judge after the flesh. I judge no man. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true, for I am not alone, but I am and Abba that sent me. It is also written in your Torah that the testimony of two men is true. I am the one that bear witness of myself, and Abba that sent me bear witness of me. See, if they would have known the text, they would have known why he said that. Yeah, I record of myself, but there was another witness in my testimony. That's why I say you can't say you a good woman. You're bearing record of yourself. You're only one witness, because he said that the whole city knows that you're a virtuous woman. That means people have bear witness of her conduct. And notice that she did not, it's unstable. She did not bear witness. I forgot about that. She did not bear witness of herself. See, a lot of people be ready to bear witness of themselves. Most people who are Yahuwah, if they got anything from them, they're usually reticent to say anything about it. Do you know what I'm saying? Because they're not trying to bring any attention to themselves. We're in verse 11 of Ruth chapter 3. A lot of individuals usually are moving about to bring attention to themselves for whatever reason. And he say, now my daughter, fear not. I will do to you all that you require. For all the city of my people do know that you are a virtuous woman. But let's see why this is important, because we know that Boaz is eventually going to marry. I want y'all to keep that in mind. But let me keep on going. And now it is true that I am your near kinsman. Howbeit there's a kinsman nearer than I. Tarry this night, and it shall be in the morning that if he will perform the part of a kinsman, well, let him do the kinsman part. But if he will not do the part of a kinsman to you, then I will do the part of a kinsman to you. As you who will live, lie down until the morning. So y'all should already know what that is. Now, I had a conversation with a pure D idiot Sunday. Not just him, but Lil Stanley know what I'm talking about. This man clearly, I can't even say he was being dumb, because I feel like that man was putting on purpose. You know what I'm saying? See, I know some. See, and then again, he could be that delusional to where he believes his own foolishness that strongly. But the way he was conducting himself, I just can't believe that a man could be that asinine, that retarded, that simple-minded on accident. I just feel like he just was literally putting on a performance and putting on a show for a crowd. You know what I'm saying? I could tell that he had never been probably challenged before. And I'm mentioning that because you have to be careful when you're sitting around an individual who's bringing forth information and he wants to be the only person to converse and not have what he is saying being challenged. Being challenged is not being disrespectful. Being challenged is saying, where did you get that from? Why did you say that? How is that relevant to your topic hand? See, that's how men converse. You just don't sit back and mindlessly hear someone say something, especially if what they're saying doesn't make sense. Because this man went on a rant, and I literally said to him, which is one of my favorite memes of all time that I've seen, and I probably didn't quote it word for word, but I definitely told him that you went on an incoherent rant of which there was not a coherent sentence in anything of what you said, and we are all dumber for listening to it. You know what I'm saying? And he looking crazy, but like, I'm not being funny. Like, my intelligence had been lowered just by sharing the same room with you. You know what I'm saying? And this is not right. It's dead serious. Stanley can tell you that's what I told him. I mean, it wasn't no sense to lie to him. But she say, let's look at why it said lay down into the morning and that he'll do the part of a kinsman. Let's pause and look at Matthew chapter 20 and then Matthew 28. One thing about it, and I told him that before he left, and I said it to the brothers after he left. Ain't no sense of clowning the man by how dumb he is when he leaves. Let me go ahead and tell you how dumb you are while you're sitting right here. So when I clown you after you depart, you would already know that this is what I said to you before you departed. Definitely, that's the case. Go ahead and let him know. And the only reason I got on him like that is because he tried to bring Yahuwah into the equation. So once you try to bring my household into the equation, see, now I got to cut you. You know what I'm saying? 20 and 23. And I ain't even talking about cutting as far as the scriptures is concerned. 20 and 22. I'm just talking about the old the phrase, or whatever TV show or movie that comes from. Now I got to cut you. But Yahushua answered and said, not what you ask. Are you able to drink of the cup that I shall drink of, and to be immersed with the immersion that I'm immersed with? They say unto him, we are able. He say unto him, you shall drink indeed of my cup and be immersed with the immersion that I'm immersed with, but to sit on my right hand and on my left, it is not mine to give, but it shall be given to them for whom it is prepared of my Abba. Remember, we talked about that cup. That's the cup of his wrath. That's the cup of his fury. Many, many places. We've talked about it numerous times in many different fashions. And when the 10 heard it, they were moved with indignation against the two brethren. But Yahushua called unto them and said, you know that the princes of the Gentiles exercise dominion over them, and they that are great exercise authority upon them. And that's what you see. Now, to use this in the most rational, current events, for lack of a better term, situation was, some people didn't watch that No Jumper podcast that Dame Dash just did. I watched it because I like the dude. He humors me. He says some real things from time to time. Sometimes he says some far out things. That nigga went to talking about Anunnaki and a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm not on that. But I know what he's been reading, where he get that from. But people always clown this man about talking about Jay-Z. He never brings this man up. You know what I'm saying? You don't see this man in interviews and he's saying Jay-Z, Jay-Z, Jay-Z. People ask him about this man. Understandably so, because you created a major corporation and movement with this person. It didn't end in an ideal fashion. So, of course, people are going to question you about it. It's odd that they still question him about something that happened almost 20 years ago. But, you know, that's what people do, because people like controversy. They like drama. People are feminine. So that's what they like. So when he made mention of, well, how do you feel about this deal? The only thing that people didn't pay attention to, the first thing the man said is, what is the deal? I don't know. Why are we talking about it? That's the first thing he said, is, why are we talking about it if we don't know what it is? He was like, I don't care about it. He said, I don't deal with that man. He said, everybody knows that this man ain't blank. Now, for me, regardless of the situation, I know when you hear a nigga use that matter of fact words, 95% of the time it's accurate. When you like, well, you know that nigga ain't about that. You know what I'm saying? It's just the terminology. But his point is he said everybody who's up working for him and not being his partner. And that's why I mentioned it, because he said those that are great exercise authority. So a lot of people, when they on this type of level, they don't really want people to be on this level with them. They always want to exercise that I'm greater than you. Yahuwah has never spit that type of teaching. But most people don't realize that or understand that. Even with the aspect of the man being the head and you have that authority, you still supposed to be a servant to your household, because that is the power of masculinity and the power of Yahuwah. Even though Yahuwah is greater than all things, he is still a servant to his creation at the same time. Individuals can't understand that level of masculinity, because you feel like authority means to rule and I don't have to do anything or be anything for anyone. And that's why I mentioned that, because I pay attention to that. See, and this is, you got to put all this stuff to the side because you like niggas' music and you're enamored with niggas' lifestyle, of which you're never going to live because you're daydreaming about living it. And just pay attention to, how do niggas go from being your partner to working for you? You know what I'm saying? I would pay attention to that in the street or in regular business. How do I go from this with you to this and get lauded for it? That's questionable. Do you know what I'm saying? Yahusha told you that. Let's just look at it. Matthew chapter 20. Well, let me finish this 20 first. He said, but it shall not be so among you, but whosoever be great among you, let him be your servant. And whosoever will be chief among you, let him be your servant. Even as the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life a ransom for many. So he's letting it be known, because a brother had asked this question online yesterday. He was like, did Yahusha wash Judas' feet? I'm like, yes, he did. Why wouldn't he have washed it? Why, you thought because he was a traitor? He hadn't betrayed him yet. He washed their feet and then told them that one of you will be. Well, let's look at that. Then we'll look at Matthew 23, because it's all still in the same about what we're going to look at. And this is also showing how gracious woman retains honor, because a favorable Isha retains her honor. Well, Yahusha was favored by. And I mentioned that thing with the dude because of this. There's a dude there who was a doctor. He began to describe the process of an embryo growing into a fetus, because this ignoramus in there was saying that he was a woman. And he only said that because I told him that if you worship a woman, you are a damn fool. You know what I'm saying? Something is clearly wrong with you. And by the way you behave and all these theatrics you're putting on, it's clearly that you're a feminine man and you need to seek help. You know what I'm saying? And this man clearly, and he was my elder, because this nigga had to be in his 50s, maybe 60s. You know what I'm saying? But he acted no different than a 15-year-old girl. And this is a true story, no exaggeration, sadly. But the doctor went to say to, like, okay, you take, because the man said that a woman can have a child without a man. That if all the men on the earth died, that the women would continue to be able to reproduce. And we was like, nigga, the woman is nothing without a man, because she doesn't have a seed. She has the egg. Without the seed, she has nothing. People don't even have enough sense to know that the man is greater, because a man can produce children until his 80s and 90s, and a woman has a 20 to 30 year period to reproduce. A 20 to 30 year period to reproduce. A man has, if a man starts producing semen at 14 and he lives to be 100, he has an 86-year window where he can produce children. If a woman starts her menstrual cycle at 14, she might go to 45. At 50 at the latest. Are there exceptions to that? Yeah, and they're mighty rare. But for the most part, from 14 to 45. You've never heard a man in your life say his biological clock is ticking. You know what I'm saying? Because that woman knows she has a short window. That should tell you something in and of itself. And that's how stupid that nigga is, and how stupid any nigga is to say that a woman is God when she only has a small amount of time to produce children. But that's another conversation for another time. So he broke down, you take the seed and the egg and you get the embryo. And from the embryo, you get the fetus. And all you got to do is study science, because when that fetus is present, that fetus is male and female. You know what I'm saying? And it goes into a process, and then whichever gender it is, whatever gender it is. But why is that important that that embryo is male and female? Because the script has already told you this from the beginning. Because before he formed Adam in the ground, hold on. Yeah, people really do argue about that, Kieran. That's sad. But you go read Genesis 1:26 for yourself. He said, in the beginning, male and female created he them. He had not made Adam yet. Then in Genesis chapter 2, he created Adam. And then he said, let me give him a helpmeet sufficient for him, and took that woman out of that man. So remember when we mentioned Genesis chapter 5, when it says, in the beginning, male and female created he them and called their name Adam, the actual process of having a child shows you that Yahuwah is the true and living Elohim and Yahushua his anointed one, because a fetus is literally male and female at the same time. And it shows you that Yahuwah ain't told you no lie. Now, you got all these people who say they believe the text and this, that, then the third, and overlook how science, so-called, shows you that Yahuwah is the creator of all things. And that also shows you that you remember when Yahushua was created, resurrected from the dead, he was male and female, created he them, and called their name Yahushua, because Yasharal must come out of him. But see, they don't want to hear that because nobody don't believe the word. What I said, John 13. Yeah, let's look at John 13 and real quick. We could pick it up at verse 1 and we'll move around. Did everybody understand that? I hope everybody understood that. Put that down, please. It's a wrench. No. This toy is for you to be quiet now. Thank you. Now, before the feast of the Passover, when Yahushua knew that his hour was come, that he should depart out of this world unto Abba, having loved his own, which were in the world, he loved them unto the end. And supper being ended, the devil now put into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him. Yahushua, knowing that Abba had given all things into his hand, and that he would come from Elohim, went to Elohim. He rose from supper and laid aside his garments, and took a towel and girded himself. And that he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet, and wiped them with the towel which he was girded. Then come he to Simon Peter. Peter said unto him, Lord, do you wash my feet? Yahushua answered and said unto him, what I do you know not now, but you shall know hereafter. Peter said unto him, you shall never wash my feet. Yahushua answered, if I wash you not, you have no part with me. This is another reason, like what he told Paul, arise and wash away your sins. See, if you don't wash yourself in a Mashal, you ain't got no part with it. This is why he said, he that is immersed shall be saved, and he that believe not shall be damned. Simon Peter said unto him, Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head. Yahushua say to him, he that is washed need not to say wash his feet, but is clean every whit. You are clean, but not all, for you know who would betray him. Therefore he said, you are not all clean. That's another instance of why he sat back and washed his feet, because you could be baptized and still not be clean. You know what I'm talking about? Because your heart's not clean. Because what he was doing was just what is in the law, Exodus 40 to be specific. You know what I'm saying? And a couple things in Exodus 30 about the washing of the priests before they could minister in their office. See, and that's why some brews be like, see, you don't got to get baptized. You wash with the water of the word. You get baptized because you're in the likeness of his resurrection. That's what you're doing that for. And the likeness of his death. But just because you did that don't mean that you clean. Because guess what? Your forefathers went through that immersion coming up out of Egypt. And you know all them wasn't clean. Because they didn't, but continuing though. He said, so after he had washed their feet and had taken his garments and was set down again, he said unto them, know what I have done unto you. You call me master and Lord, and you say, well, for so I am. If I then, your Lord and master, have washed your feet, you also to wash one another's feet. I've given you an example that you should do as I've done to you. Truly, truly, I say unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord, neither he that is sent greater than he that sent him. If you know these things, blessed are ye if you do them. I speak not of you all, I know whom I have chosen, but he that the scripture may be fulfilled, he that eat bread with me have lifted up his heel against me. Now I tell you before it come, that when it is come to pass, you may believe that I am he. Now see, that's why I mentioned the thing about the birth. Because he told you this before Eve ever had a child. Before you knew anything about having a child, he had already told you this. So by the time Eve had Cain and Abel, he had already told you this. Before anybody had any science to look at a fetus and see that it was male and female, he had already told you this. So when you see this and you already know he's the one. These are the small and minute things that this is why you say you can see him in the work of his hands. But see, people don't pay attention to that because you don't believe. You know why? Because you want to argue about who is Israel and who is not. And why you keep this feast this day. And why you don't want to dwell on some land and do this and do that. This the stuff that you worry about, and you miss the beauty of Yah's work. That you can know and rest assured that there is a reward for your labor in heaven if you endure to the end. But see, that's too much of a conversation for niggas right now. Let's go to Matthew 23. I don't want to have that conversation. Because they're going to be like, they said nobody want to hear all that. We got to wake our people up. Well, shoot, nigga, what, you don't think that's going to wake them up, nigga? You mean to tell me that what they taught me in science class was proof that Yahuwah was real before I even knew who Yahuwah was? And not only that, not even just the fact that you know Yahuwah real, but you know his son is real. Because if he did that with the first Adam, you know he did it with the second. And if he did it with the second, you know that there's an opportunity for your sins to be remitted. And if your sins can be remitted, then you can receive the Ruach HaKodesh. And if you can receive the Ruach HaKodesh, you can enter into the kingdom of Elohim and dwell with him forever. So why wouldn't you want that to be known? Why wouldn't you broadcast it? Didn't he say we declare his many wondrous works? Well, guess what? We could preach the gospel out of a woman getting pregnant. Now, how much more beautiful is that? And we've done this before with the gospel, with not even discussing science at all. But nevertheless, Matthew chapter 23. We pick it up at verse 5. He said, but all their works they do, for to be seen of men, they make broad their phylacteries and enlarge the border of their garments. And they love the uppermost room at the feast and the chief seats in the synagogues and greetings in the market to be called to men, Rabbi, Rabbi. But be not called Rabbi, for one is your master, even a Mashal, and you're all brethren. No man call no man your Abba upon the earth, for one is your Abba, which is in Shamahim. Neither be you called masters, for one is your master, even Mashiach. But he that is greatest among you shall be your servant, and whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased, and he that humble himself shall be exalted. So the key point of what we get at when we look at Ruth, and when we look at a gracious woman and a virtuous woman, she humbled herself to lay at a man's feet in order for him to be her husband, who is her near kinsman, who is a righteous man. So again, we go to construct, and then we mentioned that with Abigail, who was a woman of good understanding. We've already went over in time past that David was a man after Yah's own heart. And you see how these women were given to sons of Yahuwah. The same way that you see that Yasharal is given to the son of Yahuwah, which is something that we will look at more in depthly on Friday, but we'll begin to delve into this evening. And that's why we looked at that last week also in regards to who Elohim is brought together. Let no man split asunder. Because a lot of individuals don't see that. See, a lot of individuals. I know some brothers like this here, man. Brother, I know the other day was like, man, I'm tired of being single. Man, let me tell you something, man. If you in this word, man, I don't even care if you in the word. As a man, don't you never post no simp junk like that, man. That's real weak. You don't get no woman like that. I guarantee you that. Because as soon as that woman see it, if you was putting a tingle in her brain and in her loin, you just shut the whole faucet off with that one right there. Because she's not gonna see you as a man, she's gonna see you as weak. She see you doing what they do. I sure need me a man. You know what I'm saying? When you talking like that, you're not even fit for a wife. Because you wouldn't know what to do with them. You know what I'm saying? And we'll be talking about that as well. Because you're not in a position to lead at that particular moment. Because 9 times out of 10, when you're talking like that, you just want somebody around you. But you're not thinking about the vocation that you're about to embark on. You know what I'm saying? You're not thinking about the vocation. Especially when you sit back and look at that 9 times out of 10, from the bloodline you come from, it's probably a line of stupid men at least 2-3 generations back before you probably get to any solid men. You know what I'm saying? So that's an ugly situation all the way around the board. But we don't think about things of that nature because the only thing you're thinking about is getting your little penis wet. No, they say the storm's not going to hit Puerto Rico. Yeah, very well then. Back to Ruth chapter 3. Notice here, man. We'll be talking about that too. Get ready for it. It's stuff we didn't mention before, but you know it's going to be what we'll be beginning to look at. So, indeed. So everybody can calm down. Now you got a house full of water. You better be out there on the corner selling it. Get that money back, you big dummy. One thing, for real though. See, one thing about it, man, I don't care what's going on. Reason why I don't care, not to care that I'm not going to be aware, but Yahuwah's will going to be accomplished regardless. So if he wanted this whole city to be flattened under, then it's going to be flattened under. If he don't want it to be flattened under, then it's not. If he wants you dead, nigga, you out of here. Same way Yahushua told him you wouldn't have no power against me unless it was given to heaven. Man, look here, man. And we ain't talking about just random. Well, if you were serving of Yahuwah, you shouldn't be worried about nothing. You're aware. I ain't gonna be going fanatic and crazy. Oh, hurricane coming. And what's your point? If I live, I live. If I die, I die. But if I'm in Mashiach, I ain't never dead, so I'm not concerned. You know what I'm saying? That just showed me, hey, blessed are those who die in the Lord and they works do far. But see, niggas don't believe none of that. That's why you scared to die. You don't want to die because you know you're going to hell. You know when you wake up, it's over with for you. You know what I'm talking about? You know that. That's why that stuff bothers you. Don't nothing bother me, man. Everything is gonna be for his esteem. Anything that you dealing with, unless it's self-inflicted, then that's just your own stupidity. It's for his esteem. If it's not self-inflicted, it's to bring honor to his name, whatever it is that you're dealing with, whatever it is you're going through, whatever it is that you're facing. If you had took that mindset and looked at it, then you'll be better off. You think Yahushua walking around, man, what is this happening to me? You're weak when you do that. Even without the word, you're weak when you do that. I expect that from a woman. And I wouldn't ridicule her for that because she's emotional. She knows there's something going on, but her emotions are going to come out of her mouth. It's your job as a man to be even keeled and comfort her in that situation because she's going to be looking for you to be that steady hand to comfort her and not for you to be acting like her. Because if you go to acting like her, then her trust level in your leadership is going to decline greatly. You know what I'm saying? Because she be like, this nigga can't handle no pressure. This nigga spoiled. You know what I'm saying? That's not to say that you won't have situations where you can have an emotional weakness or downfall, but you know what I'm saying? And she gonna be that stand and support. But if there's a situation and she's frenetic and you're frenetic, she's not gonna respect you. Just go ahead and just be aware of that. Just be ready for that. So you have to know that if you're going to lead, you have to be able to understand that. If you can't even understand that simple concept, then you're going to have a problem. You're going to have a major problem. Ruth chapter 3, verse 15. He said, bring the veil that you have upon you and hold it. And when she held it, he measured 6 measures of barley and laid it on her. And she went into the city. And when she came to her mother-in-law, she said, who are you, my daughter? And she told her all that the man had done unto her. Now that's gospel right there. Who knows how that's gospel? Because that's gospel right there. Can anybody on this stream tell me how this is gospel? I'm going to read these 2 verses though. She said, these 6 measures of barley gave he me, for he said to me, go not empty unto my mother-in-law. Then she said, sit still, my daughter, until you know how the matter would fall. For the man will not be in rest until he have finished the thing this day. It's gospel in there. Who can tell me from verse 15 to verse 18? We're not going to read chapter 4 today. Y'all willing, we do it on the Shabbat. But there's gospel in verses 15 and 18. Who can show me how there's gospel in there? It's there too. It's crystal clear too. He say, bring that veil you got upon you. He say, hold it. Say, when she came to her mama-in-law, she said, who are you? Then she told her mother-in-law all that the man had done unto her. I give you, it's 8:15. I give you till 8:17. I give you till 8:17. I give you 2 minutes for somebody to tell me. Thought it wasn't more. It don't look like nobody got no ideas. We got a minute remaining. Got a minute remaining. You know, praise be Yahuwah. Give thanks for his word. It's just and right all the time. And, you know, and make sure you give thanks to him in all things by way of Yahushua and all. Yeah. Let his magnificent works be known. See, that's another reason why I thank y'all for the gospel, why I always like to preach it and speak of it, because in doing so, you let his wonderful works be known. See, a lot of people don't realize that, because everybody looks at everything as a flex. And most of the stuff is really just people's insecurities. No, that ain't John with Thomas. No. But I can see why you could say that. I can see why you would say that. Definitely will see why you would say that. Well, let's take a look, right? First and foremost, I want you to come to Songs of Solomon, chapter 5. From Songs of Solomon, chapter 5, I want to say, yeah, that's sufficient. And then 2 Corinthians, chapter 3. I give you what you just mentioned out of Thomas just on the strength because I'm over here. So I'll look at verse 3 though. Now this goes into again what we were talking about also about why you would get immersed. He said, I put off my coat, how shall I put it on? I wash my feet, how shall I defile them? If you don't put off the body of sin, why would you pick up sin again? Because what he asking, if you've washed your feet, why would you go back? And guess what? What did he just sit back and did with the apostle? What we just read. He said, if I washed you, you clean. He said, but one of you ain't clean, because if I washed your feet, how you gonna go defile them? And what did Judas go do? He went and defiled them. You wasn't ready for that. You didn't see that coming. Give thanks to the Lord. He said, but my beloved put his hand by the hole of the door, and my bowels were moved forward. There go Thomas for you right there, Stanley. That's Thomas right there. And he put his hands in the hole of the door. That's what he did. And he said, stick your hands in my hands and in my side, and be faithful. And he said, and be believing and not faithless. He said, I rose up to open to my beloved, and my hands dropped with myrrh, and my fingers with sweet swelling myrrh upon the handles of the lock. I opened to my beloved, but my beloved had withdrawn himself and was gone. That's when he used to dip out on him after his resurrection. My soul failed when he spake. I sought him, but I could not find him. I called him, but he gave me no answer. The watchmen that went about the city found me. They smote me. They wounded me. That's self-explanatory. The keepers of the walls took away my veil from me. He said he took the veil away. Took the veil away. But what did he tell her to do? That veil you got on, keep that on till you get to your mother-in-law's house. When she got there, she said, who are you? Because I don't know who you are. I can't recognize your face. Let's look at 2 Corinthians chapter 3. From 2 Corinthians chapter 3 to Matthew chapter 16. 2 Corinthians chapter 3. Verse 9. Yeah, come over here and sit down. Would you like to come over here and sit down? And it wasn't really optional, but you can default. He said, for if the ministration of condemnation be esteemed, much more do the ministration of righteousness exceed in esteem. For even that which was made esteemed had no esteem in this respect by the reason of the esteem that excelled. For if that which is done away was esteemed, much more than that which remained is esteemed. Seeing that we have such hope, we use great plainness of speech, and not as Moses, which put a veil over his face, that the children of Yasharal could not steadfastly look to the end of that which is abolished. So again, that take you back to the law. Moses had a veil on his face when he was shining on the mountain, and you know that Yahusha did not have one on his face in Matthew 17 when he was there. But that's not what we're looking at, because nobody asked him who he was when he was on that mountain. He said, but their minds were blinded, for unto this day remain the same veil taken away. I think I skipped it. No, I didn't. Taken away in the reading of the Old Testament, which veil is done away in a Mashal. But even unto this day, when Moses is read, that veil is upon their heart. Nevertheless, when it shall turn to the Lord, the veil shall be taken away. Now the Lord is that Ruach, and where the Ruach of the Lord is, there is freedom. Now notice, now it's not that say that Ruth was in bondage, but she said that there was a kinsman to redeem her. Now, when we look in Ruth 4, that'll get going into greater detail. But what did Yahusha say that he was coming to do? To make his life a ransom for many, or to be a kinsman redeemer, or to free you from a bondage of which you had been in. Now, why was she free to take another husband? Because her previous husband died. Remember what we read in Romans 7? And now she can bring fruit under Elohim. But see, that we're going to deal with that in another fashion. Just bear with me, because we're going to show you that out of Torah as well. It's gospel there. Matthew chapter 16. It's gospel everywhere. Give thanks to Yahuwah by way of Yahusha for it. You know, Yahuwah good, and his righteousness and mercy endures forever. And all individuals got to do is submit themselves to it. Verse 13. But people don't want Matthew 16. But people don't want to do that. People don't want to do that is because they don't really believe. We're bandied about many things of no consequence, but righteousness of Yahuwah is not one of them. Nevertheless, when Yahusha came to the coast of Caesarea Philippi, he asked the disciples, who do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? And they say, some that say that you are John the Baptist, some Elijah, other Jeremiah, or one of the prophets. He said unto him, but who say you that I am? So guess what? All that is, and we could take that to John 9 and this, that, there, and the third. When he went in front of the people, he had his veil on his face, and they always asked him, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Simon Peter answered and said, you are the Mashal, the son of the living Elohim. Yahusha answered and said unto him, Baruch are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood have not revealed it unto you, but my Abba which is in Shamahim. The veil didn't stop Peter from seeing. Peter knew who he was. The reason why I mentioned that, because what did he say the veil was over their hearts from the reading of the scripture? They couldn't catch it. They didn't know who he was. That's another reason. I was just talking with Dwight Homeboy about this yesterday. Like, the scriptures is mentioned. The gospel is mentioned so you know that he is who the Father said was coming. That's why he said, yeah, I do bear record of myself. He said, but my Father bear record of me. He said, your law say the testimony of two men is true. But do we honestly and genuinely believe that? If Yahusha bearing witness and his Father already bear witness by the Ruach, by the giving of the word, then how do you not believe that? And again, I'm mentioning that with the how gracious woman retain honor, because male and female created he them. So because he is Adam and the wife come up out of him, and he was favored from Yahuwah from the foundation of the world, he is able to retain his honor because he never defiled himself. You know, that's how a woman retains her honor. A woman retains her honor by protecting her purity, by never defiling herself by laying with a man until the day of her consummation of her marriage. Yahusha never defiled himself. So therefore, he is this gracious woman, and he retains his honor. Listen why we can say this. And I said unto you that you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my house, shall not prevail against it. And I will give unto you the keys of the kingdom of Shamahim, and whatsoever you shall bind on the earth shall be bound in Shamahim, and whatsoever you shall loose on the earth shall be loosed in Shamahim. Then he charged the disciples that he should tell no man that he was Yahusha, the anointed one. And from that time forth began Yahusha to show unto his disciples how they must go unto Jerusalem and suffer many things of the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed and be raised again the third day. Sounds like to me he's telling his mother-in-law everything that would be done unto him. that man did. He's telling him everything my father is going to do. Everything my father showed me, I'm showing you. Everything Boaz showed Ruth, Ruth showing to Naomi. You know what I'm saying? Because Naomi had no idea what's going on. And remember that Boaz means friendly. This is what it means. Yahuwah is friendly unto all those who follow him. But see, a lot of people don't want to hear that. You know, keeping Torah is a beautiful thing, but without faith, you're wasting your time. You go back to Proverbs 12 and 4, but we're going to get ready to lock this on down because I don't want to overextend myself to go into anything that we are not going to pay attention to or go into in full length. Just don't make no sense. We just setting the table. We got nice flatware too. 12 and 4 book of Proverbs. It says, a virtuous woman is a crown to her husband, but she that maketh ashamed is as rottenness in his bones. Now that word for crown is a Tara. You have an ayin, you have a tet, you have a rosh, you have a hay. So and it means crown or wreath. So you take that behold to be contained of the experience of the chief or the highest. So how are you contained or filled with the experience of the chief or the highest? Because that experience would be the Ruach Shalom. That experience would be the Ruach HaKadosh. That's the only way you can be filled with his experience. Because remember, he said that the word would be written on your hearts and in your inward parts. Well, that is to be filled. Don't come over here with that. Don't come over here with that. That's the only way that you could be filled with his experience. Only way you can experience Yahuwah is to experience his Ruach. If you have not tasted of the Ruach HaKadosh, you have not experienced Yahuwah. I don't care what nobody tell you. But you know what I'm saying? You wouldn't be able to understand his joy until you've experienced his Ruach. This is why he told you in Hebrews 6 that it's impossible for someone who be enlightened with that gift would go backwards. You can experience Elohim, and I mean, my brother say, yeah, man, people do experience the Ruach because the word is spirit. I say, nigga, get out of here. Number one, you lack understanding, and it's sad that you've been in this game 20, 30 years, and you don't understand that. Ain't nobody gonna case no Ruach HaKadosh and go backwards. You couldn't even persuade me of that. Even if whoever wrote that epistle in Hebrews didn't say that, there's no way that I can read that text and say an individual experienced Yahuwah and goes back to perdition. You're not going to convince me of that. You never experienced it. And see, the thing is, you can't experience it saying, I keep Torah, and that's it. You can't experience, we the children of Israel. You're not going to experience Yahuwah in that fashion. You can't experience Yahuwah but through two things: faith and adversity. And that's it. Anybody in this text who you see experience Yahuwah experience some manner of adversity, and it was their faith which allowed them to endure the adversity of why they were able to experience Yahuwah. Should we use examples? Let's say Abraham, he had adversity, he experienced Yahuwah. Let's say Jacob, he had adversity, he experienced Yahuwah. Let's say Joseph, he had adversity, he experienced Yahuwah. Job, shall we continue? David, Gideon, the list goes on and on. Samson, before you even get to Yahusha, before you even get to any of these men. All these men experienced adversity, and through their adversity, their faith was tried, and they were showed to be lovers, believers, and hopers in Elohim, and therefore they were able to experience Yahuwah. You can't experience Yahuwah without faith and adversity. That's why he say, Acts 14:22. And this is how you end up being a crown to your husband, because remember, a virtuous woman is what? A strong woman. Well, your strength comes through your faith and joy in Yahuwah. And you can't get that level of strength unless you what? Experience Yahuwah. That's it. Indeed it does. Indeed it does teach entirely too much for somebody to go back. But that's how you know these people have not experienced it. You got people who've been in this game 20, 30 years and still haven't experienced Yahuwah. And I don't care just because dudes be having praise and worship, this, that, then the third. Ain't nothing wrong with it. Let that be known. That don't mean they've experienced Yahuwah because they can stand and sing and dance. Because people do that every Sunday. You can still put on a show. That don't mean you experienced Yahuwah. That just means you might have had a jubilation or exhilaration of emotion. But that doesn't mean that what you're doing is the joy of Yahuwah. See, when you see David, when people talk about, I want to be like David, David was like that because his joy or his strength in Yahuwah was so great that that's why he did that. It just wasn't, oh, let me just praise, praise, praise. This man's faith, and of course, if you know what happened with that precipitated him doing that, they had just won a battle of what it looked like that they were going to lose, and that everyone was troubled except for him. He's the only one who truly leaned on Yahuwah completely. Before he did so, he had also gave the people flesh to eat and wine to drink, if my memory served me correctly. And then he praised Yahuwah with pure, unadulterated joy, because that joy is the strength of Yahuwah. That's your strength in Yahuwah. See, that's different. So you can see people do all that on Shabbats and on Sundays, and that junk don't be real. You know what I'm saying? That junk don't be real because it's different. Because that joy comes from the inward parts. That joy comes whether it was service or not. And we're talking about joy coming out of tribulation and adversity. But Acts 14:20. I'll make it 19. I'm finna get ready to let y'all slide on out of here. I just had to leave y'all with that word, atara. And then look at the other part. But a shameful woman is rottenness in his bone. And it should be. That's for them simp niggas out here, though. That's why I tell a little homie yesterday. I've been telling y'all this for years. The word don't never warn a woman about no man. But that's all you see the world doing. You need to mess out with these F-boys and this, that, that, and the third. Y'all warn you about a woman, though. Let that be known. He ain't never told no woman don't give your strength to no man. Because she's supposed to. But he told a man, don't you give your strength to no woman. Don't you do it. You know what I'm talking about? You give your strength to him. Your strength in Yahuwah is what you're going to use to lead this woman. You know what I'm talking about? And I'm going to let you niggas know something. If you didn't know before today, you'll know now. If a woman know you'll give your strength to Yahuwah, she ain't never going to respect you, man. She knows she your God at that point, and you're dangling in idolatry. And every negative thing that happened to you, you deserve every bit of it. And I hope Yahuwah pay you in full, straight in your chest, until you to see your error your way. And maybe he'll be merciful and spare your life. You know what I'm saying? Because you's a jackass, you's a fool, you's an imbecile, you's an idiot, you's an infidel, if you will. Nevertheless. And there came to a certain Yahudim from Antioch and Iconium who persuaded the people, and having stoned Paul, drew him out of the city, supposing he had been dead. Howbeit, as the disciples stood round about him, he rose up and came into the city. The next day, he departed with bondage to Derbe. And I always mention this man got stoned for preaching the word. And guess what? I'll be out there tomorrow. Some of y'all would have bucked getting stoned. Some of y'all would have threw rocks back. Much less to get stoned and get up and go preach the next day. And y'all be falling out about minuscule things. Ain't nobody sat down and persuaded a group of people to stone you to death. And you had it in your mind. Oh, I'm going to be out there tomorrow. Right out there tomorrow. And when they had preached the gospel to that city and taught many, they returned again to Lystaria and to Iconium and to Antioch. And he went back. And he went back to where they stoned him at. Oh, I'm back on this block. Oh, you thought I wasn't going to serve around here no more? Okay. Confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith, that we must through much tribulation enter into the kingdom of Elohim. Well, let's end it with John chapter. See, a lot of people don't want to hear that. It's going to be some trouble. This is how your reins get tested. He said, I'll bring you through the furnace of affliction. He got to see if you're going to stand. It's easy to roll with Yahuwah when everything lovely. And anybody who's going to be saved going to suffer some manner of tribulation and persecution. I don't care who you is. It's going to happen. But you know why people can't handle it? Because you're too, John 16 and 30, you're too attached to things that are temporary. You know what I'm saying? Because of your attachment to temporary things, that's why you can't handle it. Because you don't have your creature comforts, that's why you can't handle it. He said, now we are sure that you know all things and need not that any man should ask you. By this we believe that you come forth from Elohim. Yahushua answered, do you now believe? Behold, the hour come, yea, is now come, that you shall be scattered, every man to his own. And you shall leave me alone, yet I am not alone, because Abba is with me. These things have I spoken unto you, that in me you might have shalom, but in the world you shall have tribulation. But be of good cheer. I've overcome the world. If you know he done overcome the world, it shouldn't be no pressure on your behalf. It wasn't no pressure with Ruth. But nevertheless, hallelujah for Yahushua and word. We'll start right up, man. You who are willing to continue this here on the Shabbat, be on Regency, y'all will on the Shabbat. I appreciate everybody's time and bless everybody at the house of y'all. In the name of Yahushua, keep it pushing, keep it rolling. Let your faith be made strong. And may you be filled with the gift from on high, man, that your soul be spared and his righteousness may be manifest in you. And y'all will until the next time.